another day, another background. This one's actually really boring, but I've got some cute pictures of Ted's on the back, so that's cute. I literally film my videos every time Ivy Louise is at nursery, so I apologise if you want to see her, but I will make sure to get her in another video soon. I thought I'd do a bit of a different video that is just completely not about me really, it's just a complete random, but I love watching this on YouTube, so I thought I'd give it a go and see how good my editing skills are, or possibly how good Damon's editing skills are to see how this goes. So as you can tell by the title, this is the baby name tag, and there was 15 questions, and I wrote all my answers out on this little piece of paper, and I'm going to go through the different names. I like different names, so I like unusual names. Ivy at the time was quite unusual. I hadn't heard many people called Ivy, especially not Ivy Louise, but now I hear a lot of Ivy Roses. I think I've heard an Ivy Grace out there before as well, so it's not as uncommon now, but Teddy's name is pretty uncommon and you don't hear many girls called Teddy. And that's why I love it so much. So a lot of these names, if you don't like unusual names, you'll probably be like, you're mad. But I do love an unusual name. So let's get started. So question 1 was, what is your favourite name from the Friends cast? Now, I love Friends a lot. I watch it every single day without fail, but I don't really love their names. So I think they suit the characters really well, but they're no names that I would personally probably use for my children. But out of the names that are there, the option that I would choose is Joey. I think it is a really, really cute name. My brother's called Joseph, so I wouldn't ever be able to name my child Joey because it's a bit close, but I do think it's a really sweet name. I think it grows with the child, so it's cute when they're older, but it's nice when they're cute when they're younger and nice when they're older too, because I think that can be quite a lot of the time. Children's names sound really cute when they're younger, but when they're older it doesn't sound quite right, or vice versa. So if my dad's watching this, I apologise. But I can't imagine a baby being called Paul, or like Gary. I can't imagine a baby being called that, like looking down at this little cute baby and then having to call it Gary. But then it suits them a lot more when they're older, if that makes sense. Okay, number 2 was name, if you were to have triplets and had to use winter names, what would you call them? So I went for 2 girls' names and 1 boy's name. So the first name I really love is Elsa. Obviously, I personally wouldn't use this name simply because it is literally just related to Frozen. But I love the name. I think it's a lovely name. I think it's beautiful. And also I knew someone with a dog called Elsa, which kind of ruined it for me for being a baby name. But I think it's actually a really beautiful name. I think it's really nice and short and sweet. So yeah, I really love that. And then another winter name, which I think will come as quite a shock, is Ivy. I think it's a beautiful name. So Ivy was obviously born in December, and Holly and Ivy are sort of them 2 wintry names, and I really love the name Ivy, obviously as I chose it for my child. So yeah, I love that name. And then the final name, which is a bit different, and this is what I would use for a boy, is Storm. I think that is such a cool name. It's such a strong name. It's really short again and easy to say, but I just think it's really powerful. And I love that name. And if I ever had a boy, it would definitely be an option for the name. But I'm not having any more children, so that is out the window. So the third question was, if you'd have triplets and call them summer names, what would they be? I couldn't really think of boys' names here, but you could probably say that one of them was a boy's, like a unisex name, so either or. So the first one is River. So I know that some boys can be called River and some girls can be called River. It's a really unusual name, and I absolutely loved this for Ivy. It was definitely up there with my options, but my sister absolutely detested the name, so there was no chance that I was obviously going to be able to use that for my child. But I love it, and I still love it, and every time I hear someone called it, I'm just like, oh, I just love that name so much. The second name is Daisy. I think this is such a sweet, lovely name. Obviously it's a flower, and flowers remind you of like the spring, summer sort of time. And I just think it's so lovely. It's such a sweet name. Again, it works for all ages, which I really love. And yeah, I just think it's a lovely, simple name. Not going too different. It's quite a old-fashioned sort of name now, and I really love it. And then the third name I went for is Lavender. Now, I think this is so sweet. I probably would never name my child it, personally, but I love the name. I think it's so beautiful, and I simply remember it from the film Matilda. I don't know if anyone has ever watched that before, but I just think it's such a lovely name, like little Lavender, or like a little old lady called Lavender. Oh, how cute would that be? So yeah, that was my 3 summer names. Number 4 was pick a boy and girl's name which are traditionally an English traditional name. For a male or a boy, I love George. I think it's just such a gorgeous name. Damon also said that George was his favourite like traditional boy's name, and I just think it's just lovely. Yeah, I know a lot of people, quite a few people called George, and it was something that we spoke about possibly as a middle name for a boy, but again, I'm a little bit more out there with names, and I think it was just a little bit too common for me, but I think it is a gorgeous name. And for a girl, I love the name Florence. I think that is so pretty and so beautiful. I know a couple of people called Florence as well, and I love how you can shorten it to Flo. I think that is so cute. And yeah, I think it's just a really, really pretty name, and I love it. It was never an option simply because I know some people called Florence, some people who have named their children Florence, and I didn't want to steal the name, but I think it is gorgeous, and I love it. I love meeting little girls, little pretty little girls called Florence. I think it's lovely. Okay, number 5. This was an interesting question. This was names for boys and girls that I was set on, but my partner hated. So I've got 2 girls' names and 2 boys' names. So the first girl's name was actually one my dad came up with when we were having Teddy, and I just fell in love with it. I thought it was so pretty, and it's Flora. I love it, but Damon could only hear, obviously, the butter company or the margarine company, which I do understand, and I think a lot of the time if you ever just say Flora, that is probably all you're going to hear. But I think it's such a sweet name. It's so old-fashioned, and I think it goes really well with Ivy as well. But I just love it. I think it's really simple and nice, and you don't hear many people called Flora. The second name, which was definitely very, very close to being her name, and I think if I kept pushing, I could have persuaded him to call Teddy this, but it's Dottie. So obviously Dottie is short for Dorothy, but I'm not as keen on that name. But I think Dottie is the sweetest little name, and if anyone of my friends wants to call their child Dottie, please do, because I just love it, and I just want a little girl to be called Dottie, because I just think it's such an underused name. I love it, and I don't know why more people don't use it. I love it. The 2 boys' names, so the first one is Jonah. I really love this name. Obviously, again, speaking from past previous videos, I obviously am a religious person, and this is a biblical name which I really love. There's a few biblical names in here which I really love. I think it's really cool. The second boy's name is Wolf. Now, I know that there is someone on YouTube with a son called Wolf, and that is where I got it from. I think it's just a really cool name. Like, again, I think personally it resembles strength, power and everything like that. There's no other explanation for why I love that name, but I just love it. Again, short and sweet. You can't shorten it to anything. Question 6 was, name a child from a name in your favourite movie. So I chose my all-time favourite movie, which again is Thunderbirds. And I was trying to think of the different names, and actually the names in that film are terrible. So you've got Alan, you've got Brian, you've got Virgil, Gordon, like that is the sort of names. And then I was trying to think of the female names in there, and one of the ladies is called Penelope, or Lady Penelope, and I was thinking Penny. I really love that name. I think it's such a sweet name. I just think it's just beautiful, and again, you don't really hear it. It's quite an old-fashioned name, but it's lovely, and I really like that. I love the Y ending names, obviously, as you can tell from my children, but yeah, I really love that. 7 was, name a girl and a boy from the names in your phone contacts, I think. Yeah. And so from your favourite names in your phone contacts. So the first one is a girl, and my friend doesn't really like her name, but I love her name. I think it's amazing, and it's so different, and you don't hear many people called it, and I love it. And if she wasn't my friend, it would definitely have been an option for one of my children, and that is the name Nia. N-I-A, simple, easy, can't shorten it really, unless you want to be called Nee, I suppose. But yeah, I love this name. I'm pretty sure because she's got a Welsh background, it's a Welsh name, but I just think it's lovely. I love the way it sounds, and I love it. And then the second name for a boy would be Ruben. I love this name. Again, it is my cousin's name, and it's definitely up there with my all-time favourite boys' names. My child, if I ever had a boy, would definitely 100% be called Ruben if it wasn't a family name. So I can't obviously have the name, but it is my all-time favourite name, and yeah, I would choose that without question if I could. Okay, so number 8 was choose a boy and a girl's name that are double-barreled. So I decided not to obviously just be easy and use one of my children's names, because that would be easy. So I went for something different. So I went for a girl, Harper Jo, and I'll put the spelling on the screen, hopefully, if I've been doing that throughout the whole thing. But yeah, I just thought this was really sweet. I love the name Harper. Obviously, it's becoming quite common now. So obviously, David Beckham and Victoria Beckham named their child Harper. So I think that's where it kind of stemmed from. A lot of people are calling their children Harper now, but I still absolutely love the name. I think it's beautiful. I use that. I've used beautiful a lot, but I honestly do. I think it's such a lovely name. And then Jo, I love it. So my little sister's called Heidi. Again, I love that name. I would have used that if it wasn't my sister's name. And her middle name is Joy, but I always loved the sound of Heidi Joy. I think that's just such a beautiful name. I love it so much. So I think Harper Jo just sounds so sweet, especially as a double-barreled name. I think that is a lovely name. And then for a boy, I don't generally do double-barreled boys' names. I have nothing like against them. I don't know how you could have something against a name, but I just think it's more of a girly thing to have the double-barreled in your name. But for a boy double-barreled, I came up with Isaiah Paul. So obviously Paul is my dad's name. So if I ever had a boy, I would always want to put his name in it because he means a lot to me and he's one of my biggest inspirations in life for sure. And Isaiah is again a biblical name. I just think it is such a cool name. Like Isaiah, how cool is that? I just love it. So I think, yeah, Isaiah Paul, I think that is really cool. But if I ever had a son and I decided to double barrel his name, I know for a fact I'd probably just keep calling him the first name and not use the whole thing. So number 9 was name a girl and a boy from Disney films. This was really quite hard actually. I don't know why. I would have just used Elsa straight up, but again, I've used that already and I wanted to be a bit different, use different names in there. So the first one I chose was Nala. Obviously, this is traditionally now quite a dog name, but I love it for a child. I think it's so sweet, and I think for a little girl called Nala, I think that would be really cute. It's again nice and short, and I think has a really nice ring to it. And it's from my daughter's favourite film, The Lion King, obviously. And then the second one, I had to check if this was even a Disney film, and now I'm second guessing myself. But I love the name anyway. Again, it's a W name, and I've only just really realised that I really like W names for boys. But it's Wilbur. Again, I think it's quite a dog name, but I think it's so cute. I think even, again, a little child called Wilbur and then a little old man. Oh, I think that was just so sweet. I love that name. I love it. Yeah, I've always really liked that name actually. Sorry, change of angle because the lighting's completely going crazy over here. Sorry, so I had to think up of a boy and girl's name for a brunette child, a blonde child and a redhead child. This was quite hard actually, and for some I chose 2 different names because I couldn't pick. Okay, so for a brunette boy, so this is what Teddy's name would have been if she was a boy. I was set on this name, and that is Woody. I love this name. I liked it even more after watching The Circle. I don't know if anybody else watched that programme. But there was a boy on there called Woody, and it made me love it even more and made me even more set on it. So I was pregnant at the time, and I knew then if I had a boy, I wanted it to be called Woody. I think it's such a cute name. I had to take a bit of persuading for Damon to like it, and I know probably quite a few people are like not too keen on it, but I just love it, and I think it's definitely up there with 100% my favourite boy's name, definitely. And I think it really suits a brunette boy. Again, obviously, Woody from Toy Story, he's a brunette. And Wood is brown. I don't know. Obviously my children are brunette. Well, Teddy is a brunette, and I think the name Woody, if she was a boy, would suit her so well. And then for a girl, I went for Bonnie. I love this name. I've always loved this name, and it's always been an option for me for a child. But it just got a bit more common after when I had children. So I never really thought about using it. But I think for a little brunette girl with little like brown curls in her hair, Bonnie, what a cute little name. For blonde children, for a boy I went for Elijah. I don't know why for a blonde child, if I'm honest, but I just love the name, and it was always been one of my favourite names. Again, would have been Ivy's name if she was a boy, and probably would have been Teddy's middle name if she was a boy. I love the name. Another biblical name, and I think the spellings of biblical names are just so cool. yeah, so I think that is the name I would choose for a blonde-haired boy. And then for a blonde-haired girl, I thought I'd go a little bit different and change it a bit, but Elsie. So obviously Elsa from Frozen, she's got long blonde hair and it's quite a wintry name, but I love the name Elsie. I know a few little children called Elsie now, and I think it's such a beautiful and sweet name. And then for redheads, this is where I got a little bit indecisive, and I chose two names for both. So for a boy, I chose Rory. I love that name. And Ronnie, I really like that name too. Obviously, both starting with R. And no, not because redhead, but because redhead starts with R as well. But I just think it really suits the sort of aesthetics of that child. Rory I really like, and I love the sound of it as well. And Ronnie, I think it's just such a sweet name. I relate it back to a little boy I used to know when I was younger, and I just think it's such a lovely name. And then for a girl, I chose two names again. The first name is Rosa, so a little bit different to Rosie or just a Rose. But Rosa, so my hairdresser has a daughter called Rosa, and as soon as she told me her name, I was like, oh, I love that. I think it's just a bit different, you know. You don't hear many children called that now, and obviously having a red head, you're known to be a little bit like rosy in the cheeks and things like that. So I think that would really suit a redhead child. And then the other name is Ember. I heard this from somebody I knew who likes it for a girl if they ever have a girl, but I think it's just a little bit different to, it's basically just changing up the name Amber a little bit, and I think the sound is really nice. And obviously embers are red, so that links to the redhead as well, which I really love. The next question was a boy and a girl's name from different countries or cities in the world. I've used a name again from my past questions, but I love the name Florence. Obviously this is in Italy, obviously this is a city in Italy. That's really hard to say. Try saying that really quick. City in Italy. But yeah, I just love the name. Again, I've explained it before in the other question, but I think it's a lovely name. And then for a boy's name, I love the name Lincoln. I did have to Google, I'm not gonna lie, different cities and places. I think this was a city in Nebraska, I can't remember, but I think it's such a cool name. I've always loved the name Lincoln, but it's quite common now, so I wouldn't use it now, but I think it is a cool name. Number 12 is choose a boy and a girl's name from Harry Potter. This was easy for me. So the girl's name was Luna, so obviously Luna Lovegood. In the film, she's one of my favourite characters. She's completely all over the place and just hilarious to watch, and I love the name Luna. It was definitely again one of my options for Teddy, but Damon wasn't so keen on it. But I think it is such a beautiful, sweet name, and I just think it sounds lovely. And then for a boy's name, again, I mentioned this one again, is George. Again. I love the name George. I think it's lovely. Question 13 was name a child from your friends' names. Mentioned before, Nia, I love the name, and that would be one of them. But I also love the name Rose. Obviously, Teddy Rose, I use that name already. My middle name's Rose, but one of my closest friends, her name is Rose, and I love that name. Old-fashioned, short, sweet, beautiful. And then for a boy's name, I love the name Marcus. I think this is a lovely name, and if they weren't so keen on it being Marcus when they're older, you could always shorten it to Mark, which I think is really good. Yeah, I really like that name, and I would spell it slightly differently to how the person I know spells it, but I really like that name. So question 14 was name a boy and a girl from space themed names. So I did 2 for a girl because I couldn't choose, and then 1 for a boy. So the first girl's name again is Luna. Obviously that's a very space themed name and I love it. And the second name is Saturn. I remember Damon loving this name when we were pregnant with Teddy. I wasn't 100% sure on it, but I do really like it. I think it's a little bit different. I've never heard of a child called Saturn, but I just think it's really cool. And then for a boy, I love the name Apollo. I think that is such a cool name. And the way it sounds is really cool as well. And then last one is number 15, and this is name a boy and a girl from Greek mythology. I didn't really know much about this. All I knew was really Zeus and Athena, so I had to have a little Google, and I decided for the boy's name. I love the name Atlas. I think that is such a cool name. Again, really strong, really powerful. So yeah, I love that. And then for a girl, the name Iris. I think that is so pretty, and I know that's a flower, I believe. I hope. And I think that's such a beautiful name. I really love that. Yeah, so that is all of my questions and all of my answers. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really sorry about the lighting. I couldn't quite get it right. But I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope if you're pregnant or needed some ideas for names and you like a bit more of uncommon names, I hope that gave you some ideas. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. That would mean a lot to me. And also comment down below if you have any children of your own, what their names are, or if you're not pregnant yet or haven't got children, what you would name your future children. I think that would be really cool to let me know. And I will see you again soon for another video. Thank you for watching. Bye.